Let's get started. Today we are going to be talking about specifically government grants and programs for funding of the software acquisition and software training. We'll talk a little bit about other stuff, but this is going to be our key focus for today. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Yeah, I wanted to.
Yeah, very good.
I'm on top of things, Igor. I'm warmed up from Sean's presentation.
Read my mind. Very good. All right, so we're going to be covering first of all what are the costs that are eligible for government funding, because not all software-related costs are eligible. Then we'll talk in detail about the specific programs that can help you to fund a portion of the acquisition or a portion of the training cost. And then we'll look into the examples. So we'll see on the particular example how much money you can get from the government. And then we'll talk about the application process and what kind of other grants are there. Awesome. Just a couple of words about our company. So we've been around in the grants business for about 5 years now. Recognized by associations such as CME and also the funding portal. Our core value proposition is that we are committed to your success, and if you are not successful in the grant application, then we are not successful. So you either get the funding or it's a free service. So this is our core mandate. And we've been experienced with all major government funding programs that are available is here in Ontario. This is our largest footprint. We do write grants here and there for, say, Quebec and Alberta, BC, but most of our clientele is here for now. And we've been writing all the different grants, not only for the software, not only for the training, but also for equipment, for research and development, for export business development, and we'll talk later about all of those. All right. So let's talk about what costs are illegal. So when we talk about the software, so what the software actually is. So we can always break down software acquisition projects into different phases. And typical phase one, or the cost one, is the software itself. So it's either a license or a combination of license and hardware, because this is also part of eligible cost. And the government doesn't really restrict you to what kind of software you've got to purchase. It's your rationale, your business sense, your business case, if you will. ERP software is for sure is eligible. Anything related to the manufacturer or enterprise management is also eligible. You see on the screen examples of design software such as CAD/CAM. It's also eligible. So again, the government doesn't really tell you what kind of software and even what sort of software you have to purchase. It's totally your choice. The other set of eligible costs is the implementation cost. As you just heard, during the implementation process, you may need to, let's say, build a custom report or have the software vendor to integrate your ERP system with your accounting system or do things of that nature. So these costs are also eligible as part of consulting costs or implementation costs. So they also qualify for the government funding. Last but not least, training costs. Obviously, once you install the software, once you acquire the software, you've got to train employees how to use that software properly. And in some cases, depending on how many employees you wanted to train, the cost of the training may exceed the cost of the licenses and the cost of the other costs of software acquisition. So there are also government funding provided to compensate the trainer's fee, so the vendors, whatever the vendor charges for their time, and also the time for your employees while they are in the training, for their salaries. So now let's go deeper into the specific programs that cover software and software training. The one that you see here on the screen is SMART program. This is the program that compensates for the software and software implementation cost. Training is not eligible under SMART, but everything else related to the software and hardware, by the way. So for example, that barcode scanner is also eligible because it's also part of ERP system that you are acquiring. Any servers where you have to host the ERP system, even hardware. So not your office computers, but let's say if you need to purchase the workstations to put near your floor, on the floor, then these costs are also eligible because it's all tied up to the ERP project. So it doesn't make sense to purchase the ERP system and say run it in the office, right? You gotta actually have the access of your employees to the ERP system, convenient access. Now, to qualify for this program, you gotta be in business for at least 2 years, which most of you are more than that. And there's a restriction with regards to the number of employees. Now, unfortunately, to qualify for this program, you have to have at least 15 full-time employees.
Is that 15 or 50?
15,
15.
1 5.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
No. Yeah. Besides that, most of you are qualified because you have to. The plant has to be located here in Southern Ontario, so most of you are pretty sure. Actually, all of you are probably from Southern Ontario. But the employee requirement is unfortunately very strict. So even if you have 14, regrettably you cannot qualify. But when you have 15 or more, that's okay.
And Igor, just to interrupt, this I don't know if you're going to talk about this particular program. It takes a little while to get approved,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, we'll get to
You're going to get there? Okay, sorry.
Stealing
your thunder.
Yeah, and before we move on, so this program provides 35% of the software project cost, if you will, except for the training, as I mentioned, up to a maximum of 100,000. And by the way, how many we have less than 15 employees? Can you raise hands? A couple of hands. Okay, no worries. So, although this one wouldn't probably be good for you, there are other programs, especially for the training, that you can apply for, and you can get the compensation for at least the training component. So we'll get to that. This program, I'll touch very briefly. Northern Ontario and FedNor has several programs for the same purpose, for the software acquisition. And these programs work pretty much the same way. They provide a third of the training, of the software acquisition costs. They are a bit less restrictive, but some of you may have the affiliates in the Northern Ontario or maybe some other facilities there. So just for your information, there are also funds for that area, but we'll skip them for now. Now, let's go to the training component. So for the training, for the software training, we have 2 programs in Ontario. One of them is Canada Job Grant. This one is actually works not only in Ontario, but it works in all the provinces except Quebec, at least for the time being. They will probably sign for this program in April, hopefully they will. Now, this one is the least restrictive program. So to qualify for this program, you just gotta have at least 1 employee. So if you have 1 employee, you're good to go. The program provides funding for the software training, and actually not only software training in general. It's a training in general. Again, the government doesn't impose their opinion. It's up to you what kind of training to take and who to take the training. In this particular content, we also talk about the software training. So software training is definitely eligible cost, and for the software training, the government provides between 2/3 and 5/6 of the training cost, but it's only third-party training cost for this program. It's only third-party training cost. So if you apply for this program, you're not going to be compensated for your employees' time while they're on the training, but you're going to get between 2/3 and 5/6 of the training cost, those costs that your vendor charges. Is that clear? So we're going to get to examples, and then I'll explain who's going to get 2/3, who's going to get 5/6, but for now, just remember that. The other program for the skills training is called AIM Initiative. It's provided by Yves Landry Foundation. That one's probably, you may be more familiar with that one, or at least you may have heard about that one, because that one, this one was around for a while, about 5 or 6 years at least. The difference between this program and the one that we've seen before is that Yves Landry program actually pays for employees' time, pays their salaries while they are on the training. And this is a key difference between those 2 programs.
Can you apply for the previous program, the job grant, and Yves Landry at the same time?
Not for the same project.
Not for the same, okay.
If you have 2 trainings running concurrently, 2 different trainings, you can do that, but you have to make sure that you apply for the different trainings. So otherwise, you're going to exceed some maximum limitation of government funding that government looks at.
Okay.
To qualify, you got to have at least 10 employees, which is more realistic than SMART, for example. but still have to have 10 employees. Unfortunately, again, it's strict, so you cannot have 9. And apply, you gotta have 10 at the moment of the RFP. And the program provides between 25 and 50% of the training cost. Again, training costs for this program, they include the third-party training fees and the wages. And then later, when we get to the examples, I will explain who's going to get 25, who's going to get 50%. Now, before we move on to the examples, maybe there are any questions so far about the programs or eligibility or anything?
Igor, I have a question.
Yeah.
So are you, if somebody, you do an interview with companies, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
So, and then you determine which are the best options so that they can maximize the amount of funding?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the good thing is you're not going to have to decide which one to apply for. That's what these guys do. They have that all figured out.
Okay, so let's take an example. So let's assume that we have 10 trainees, 10 users who purchase 10 licenses.
They're getting trained on E2.
Yeah. All right, so let's say 10 users. Average hourly rate of 10 users is $25 an hour. Training duration is 15 days, and it's a full-time training. It takes 8 hours a day. Total wages of all 10 people for 15 days is going to be $30,000. And let's say the software vendor charges 38K for 10 licenses, and also $1,450 per day for training. And so the total third-party training fee is $21,750. But it's again, it's just an example that we're going to use to illustrate the benefit. And let's go to the examples now. So if you apply for Canada Ontario Job Grant, then again, you're going to only get the compensation for the third-party trainers' cost. So you're not going to get anything for the wages. Now, if your company has 50 or less employees, less than 50 employees, then you're going to get 5/6 of the training cost. And you see on the screen how much you're going to get in our example. And if your company is a large company, has more than 50 employees, 50 or more employees, then you're going to get only 2/3 of the third-party training fees. And Youth Landry program is again, this program provides funding both for the third-party training and your employees' wages, your employees' salaries. If you have never applied for that program before, you get 50% of the training budget. You see on the screen, it's quite significant. But if you have applied, unfortunately, you can only get 25% of the eligible cost, and you pretty much get two times less than you would have if you were a first-time applicant. Now, the other condition of Youth Landry program is that there is a waiting period. So if you already applied for that program, you have to wait at least 24 months before you can apply again, just for your information. Any questions on the illustration? I have a question. Where is the cost of software? Yeah. Did anyone notice that there's no software cost here? Sure.
I did.
So the reason why it's not here because the illustration, these two illustrations are only about the training component. So software costs are not eligible under training, and training is not eligible under software grant. So that's the reason why they're not here. But if your company qualifies, say, for SMART program, then a portion of the costs, software costs, the licenses cost, and implementation costs can be compensated by SMART program. Is that clear? Okay. Now let's talk about application process. Typically, the first and one of the most important parts, and probably the largest part of the application process is the application itself. So each program has a set of forms to file. Beside the forms, there's always a set of additional documentation that has to be filed. For example, to support the case, to explain how the government money will be properly used and so forth. So it's not just the application form. It's typically the package that you have to submit. And after that package is submitted, the government, it takes time for the government to process it. Now, for training grants, the approval process is a little bit more straightforward. So typically it takes 3 to 4 weeks to get the decision. For other programs, such as SMART program for software acquisition, for example, that one takes a little bit longer, unfortunately. That one takes, well, at least 4 months, but the realistic average is 6 months. If you're looking into other programs for other purposes that we'll talk about that just in a moment, all of them have different processing timelines. And if you have specific questions, let me know and I'll tell you approximately how much time it will take for the government to approve one or the other program. Now, what's important to remember is that unfortunately the rule is that you are not supposed to spend any money before you get the approval from the government. So you cannot start the training, let's say, until your training is fully approved by the government. So this is very important to keep in mind. Because otherwise, if you spend some money and then you try to retroactively claim it, unfortunately, you're not qualified to do that. So unfortunately, it's not an option. Now, once your application is approved, the other important component is reporting, because typically the government gives you money based on the reports that you provide. So you have to always tell the government how you're using money, what are the benefits of the government investing money in your specific project. So the reporting part is as important as the application, because it's not enough just to receive the approval. You always have to let the government know what you're doing with the government.
Are all the funds not released until the reports are completed over a period of time?
It depends on the program. Sometimes you get the advance payment from the government, and then you write the reports. But in other programs, you don't receive anything until you file a report.
And so to be clear, Igor, you handle all the applications and all that kind of stuff. You're going to gather information from
Yes.
companies.
Yes.
But the reporting, you're out of the picture at that
No,
point?
no, actually no. So
You
we
do that?
provide full service. So if at any time, if and when the government wants you to file a report for work with us, we'll also help you to write reports.
Okay, good.
This slide is quick information on what else is available. So there are government grants for different purposes. The one that you see here on the screen. For example, for purchasing equipment, there's a 100,000 grant. It's actually a SMART program, the same one that is for equipment purchasing. It can be used for both software and equipment, not just for information. There's funds for export business development, such as going to trade show. If you go to the trade show, exhibit at the trade show, or even visit the trade show outside Canada, you can get up to 50% back of your travel cost and exhibiting cost. There's funding for research and development, for skills training, so for many different areas. I'd say the rule of thumb is that if you are doing something outside your normal operations, there's a great chance that there's government funding for that. The other question is whether your specific project qualifies or not, but this is something that we can help you to determine. And you have here on your desk the yellow brochure. It's the very quick overview of what's available and how much funding you can get for each specific goal. And if you have questions, always I'll be here for questions and answers. You can also book the individual walkthrough of the government funding, where probably I'll actually come in person and give you an overview, a detailed overview of what's available, because the yellow brochure is just a quick information. In order to make sure that you have projects and you have eligible projects, the projects are eligible, you actually have to sit down and go through the projects in detail. And it's and it's Q&A time, very good.
Does health and safety training fall under the last slide there,